Yes, we are.
So with that, presenters tonight, you have me, Joe Deli Carpini. I'm the Science and Operations Officer. And along is Bryce Williams, one of our meteorologists, and also manages our social media program. So I'm sure many of you have heard Bryce on some past presentations. So now with that, I'm going to exit the slideshow, and we're going to go live. If I can exit the slide, here we go. Okay, so make sure my screen is there, and I believe it is. Okay, so we're good to go. So this is going to be a live website demo, and as I said, we'll present some information, and then we'll go ahead and take your questions, or if there's anything that you want to see, we'll certainly help you find it here. So first of all, the National Weather Service's main webpage is weather.gov. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. So you can click anywhere in the country to go to the weather forecast office for that location. Maybe you're going on vacation, or you have friends or relatives in another area of the country that you want to kind of see what's going on. But this is the main portal to get there. So again, it's weather.gov. And if you click on us over Southern New England, you'll see Boston and surrounding areas. So you can click on that, and it takes you to our homepage, which is directly as weather.gov/Boston or weather.gov/BOX. That's the office identifier for the Boston office. So all of the web pages in the National Weather Service are being standardized to have this similar look and feel. Some of them might be just a little bit different, but overall they're basically set up the same. So I'm just going to start by going through the layout of it. You'll see there are actually two sets of menus on here. Up at the top, these are more national programs, forecast information or past weather. There's safety information and various other information. So these more pertain to the National Weather Service as an agency, not so much for here in Southern New England, where the second set of menus is more localized information tailored to us here in Southern New England. So most of the local forecast information that you're looking for, or the climate data or observations, things like that, are going to be found in this menu, which is located under our name, the Forecast Office for Boston. You're probably familiar with some of the news headlines, and we put all of our latest headlines up here, including upcoming webinars, which you'll find there. For example, right now we're talking about there's going to be replacement of the radar imagery, which is on our webpage, coming up in December, and also our rainfall probabilities. We'll get into that a little bit more to show you what that's about. But during the winter, for example, we put a link to our snowfall page on there. But just to start, before we get into some of the other things, you'll see usually three images down below here on all the pages. Radar and satellite are kind of standard, but the third one is kind of up to us. So it's seasonal, and this time of year we have our surf zone forecast, which is the beach forecast. And when we get into wintertime, we tend to put our snowfall page on there as well. So a quick link to that. And then on the lower part of the page, you'll see a bunch of icons. And again, these are mostly standardized throughout the National Weather Service, but we can tailor them locally as we need to. This time of year, we've got our tropical page, and Bryce and I will take you through that because we know the tropics are active. You'll see that replaced usually with the winter weather page in the wintertime, but there's a variety of just kind of quick links that you can get to there. Farther down, our latest social media posts, so we have Facebook and Twitter. I'm sure many of you are familiar with those. And then there's also a link to our YouTube page at the bottom, which will take you to our recorded videos. And then all of the pages are laid out here you can click on any one of these if you don't want to go through the menus. So that's the basic layout of the page. So Bryce and I are just going to kind of talk through a bunch of different things. So Bryce, I will let you start off with wherever you like. So we want to start just
Okay, well,
and I'll point and click and go.
great. So I had just kind of pulled up at least a couple of pages that I knew would be of interest to people, and one of the first ones that I thought of was the enhanced hazardous weather outlook. So let's show them where that is.
Right, so that's going to be the current hazards.
Yeah, the current hazards there, and at the bottom of this pop-up menu, and we'll show you what that is.
It says enhanced hazardous weather outlook. So go ahead, Bryce.
Yeah, so this is just a great graphical way to get a quick overview of of the next week or so, and what kind of hazards you can expect. It's color coded for easy interpretation, just at a glance, from green being, no hazards, to reds and purples being extreme risk. So the warmer colors are the more risk, and you can see it's laid out from in the chart there from day 1, which is today, all the way out through the next, I think, 7 days. And so, like, if you kind of just take a quick glance at that now, you'll see that really we're just dealing with marine hazards for the most part, and some gusty winds, which is the reason we have the marine hazards. So you see the high surf is yellow and orange, the marine hazard is red and orange. That means that on each of the next several days, we're going to have rough seas, potential for increased risk of rip currents, that kind of thing. And that's because of the strong winds that you also see there in yellow, the non-thunderstorm winds. And so if you look down at the yellow legend at the bottom, it says limited. So, risk for those, for that, category of risk, which would be the winds, is limited compared to none or elevated. So yeah, just a brief way to kind of orient yourself to what's coming up in the next 7 days. And so looking at this now, we can see, there's not really any severe weather threat. There's really not even much weather itself going on. We're just dealing with some winds and some high surf.
Right, and this is a seasonal as well. So right now, this is in kind of the summer, all the summer hazards. This changes over to snow and ice and wind chill.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can also click on each one to get, as I've done here, to get a little better idea. So, for example, if you're worried about, Monday we've got, an orange, you click on it and it will show you kind of the area. And it's hard to see, but it's actually over the water. So let me see if I can find maybe a better example. Let's look at marine hazards, for example, for Friday. You can see we've got some red offshore, and you can click on the map also to zoom it up. But it shows you the different thresholds. So in the yellow, we're looking at winds of greater than or equal to 15 knots and waves greater than 2 feet. When you get up to the red, you're talking greater than 34 knots, which is gale force, and waves or waves greater than 9 feet. So just a quick, if you're a recreational boater, especially in the summertime, this will give you a quick glance at maybe any hazards and where they are in particular. So if we look at something like fog, for example, you can see there's a little bit here over the water. See, the weather's so quiet, we don't have very much going on, Bryce.
Yeah, there's not much to show.
Yeah, even fire weather, there's not much. But you can see as you click through each one, it'll graphically show you where the hazard really is, and then the definitions are all down here. So it's, as Bryce said, it's a quick glance to kind of see expected weather hazards over the next 7 days. And every National Weather Service office is producing these. So you can look down, if you live in Southern Connecticut, that's the New York City offices area. You can go to their page. Berkshire County and Litchfield County is the Albany office. And then up in here is the Portland or Gray, Maine forecast office. So eventually what we're going to do, the next generation of this will transition to a Google-based map. So you won't have to go from office to office. It'll all be on one zoomable map, which will be a nice feature.
Awesome.
All right, so we'll go back. So that's under current hazards, and a lot of these are more, again, these are fairly national in scope, although that takes you to our tropical page, and maybe we should do that, Bryce.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's go to the hurricane page.
So this is season.
Yep. So
look at that map.
So it's lit up pretty good. So it starts off, this is all tabbed, and you can see we have the latest outlook here. You get the 2-day graphical outlook and a 5-day graphical outlook, so you can click on these and get more information. If we have active storms, we can see what's going on. I think it has just one at a time, so it's putting Vicky there, which is the latest in the alphabet. But what you can do too is, if we're ever under any kind of tropical watch or warning, you'll see we'll issue this local briefing. Now, we don't have it there now because there are no headlines, and if I click on it, it will tell you there's no local briefing. But you can go to that local briefing when we're under any kind of tropical watch or warning in our forecast area. So as you can see, there's a bunch of different tabs, threats and impacts. Again, when we're under a watch or warning, we issue these graphics, things like it shows you, and then this is a zoomable map, wind, storm surge, flooding, rain, and tornadoes. And there's different backgrounds you can use or overlays. It's pretty user-friendly. Some of the local products, like our Hurricane Local statement, that's a text product, again, that we issue when we're in a watch or warning. But as you can see, there's all different types of text. These are text products that you can look at when we're under a direct, tropical storm or hurricane threat. Satellite imagery is available here. This is from Goes East. Also, we can tab over to radar. Not too much on the radar tonight, but again, this is a zoomable map that you can use. You can go to social media. Again, see the latest social media posts.
Here's our webinar.
And preparedness tips. So always a good idea to be prepared. So there's all different kinds of videos, brochures, and then just educational things about the hurricane hunters and storm surge. And then you've got a bunch of links below as well. So this page is kind of your one-stop shop for all things tropical. So, and again, we have the hurricane icon on our main page that you can also link to there. And when if we're ever under any kind of tropical threat, we'll also have most likely have a headline up here too with more information for you. So that's under your current hazards. So Bryce, take us to the next.
See, so under the current conditions, I thought it would be interesting to point out that we can see under the marine obs map, if you're a recreational boater and you're going out and you want to see kind of where we have buoys, that might tell you the sea, what the seas are doing, the winds out there. Not all of these buoys give sea wave heights and such, but there's a lot of data you can glean from there. So if you just hover over one, you can see significant wave heights, only 2 feet out there right now. Outside of Boston Harbor, you can see a lot, the wave periods, the direction, the temperature, and then some of the, this does have the wind, winds gusting only to 7.8 knots, so pretty negligible out there. So kind of a nice graphical way that I liked when I'm trying to get an idea of what's going on the waters is being able to hover over these buoys.
And you can click on View Details. That will take you to the National Data Buoy Center's page for that buoy with a lot more information.
A lot more info.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
Okay. Oh, let's go back to the main page.
The main home page.
Okay. So it's also regular observations. If you want to see current weather, you click on the list. This is an hourly roundup that runs in our office every hour, and it's got the basic, sky, temperature, dew point, humidity, wind, and pressure for pretty much the whole region. We also include northern New England and areas in nearby New York, as well as, again, some of the buoys here if you're a mariner. So that's a quick way to look at that. Also under current conditions, you can go, say you want to go back to, yesterday's weather or a day before. There's 7 days worth of decoded observations. What you do is select a location. So let's pick our friends in Hartford tonight. And you've got, it's a coded observation, but you can see it goes all the way back. So if you need help, with this, drop me an email. I can help you. These are coded, but it's pretty straightforward. Any cloud groups, the visibility or weather, temperature, dew point, the wind, which is a compass direction. So that will be 160 at 3 knots, which is south. And the sea level pressure, you add a 10, for the most part, 14.4 millibars. But you've got high and low temperature data there. And again, this goes all the way back to 7 days. But again, if you need help, shoot me an email. I can certainly help you with that. So also you can see the satellite. There's a map of observations, rainfall, things like that. So, go ahead and play around with this. This is pretty good. There's also air quality too. You can look at for current conditions. So
yeah, speaking of all the smoke spinning around.
I think the radar menu is pretty self-explanatory. So local will take you to ours here in the Taunton radar. Regional is a regional mosaic, and national is a national mosaic. You can also link to that on the local radar tab right there. That will take you to that. Okay, forecasts. So there's a bunch of different things in here. So I think the most popular thing, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with, is our forecast discussion. And you can go back to previous versions. It gives you, kind of an idea of what we're thinking, what we're putting into the forecast. It's almost like a blog, I think. And you probably have your favorite authors in there, which you can see who's written what down at the end. So Bryce was actually on there today. BW.
Yeah.
Matt Belk, who's one of our senior or lead meteorologists, and Bill Babcock, WTB, is working tonight too. So. But we have the different sections. They're pretty much split up by time. So again, the near term is kind of the first, 12 hours or so of the forecast. The short term then goes from about 12 to 36 hours out. And then our long term is usually from 36 hours out to 7 days. We talk typically about trends and, usually not too specific. In this case, Bryce was talking about Hurricane Teddy, and Are we going to see any impacts from that? There's
Sometimes there'll
maybe,
be an extra section like there is now about climate because we're thinking we might, if we're thinking we might break temperature records like the coldest high temperatures on later this week, then what we might add in a climate section and just
right,
describe, what the records are and if so that those reading you guys can be able to track if we are going to break a record or not. So we have a
right.
climate
And then
section in there.
sometimes you'll see a section on fire weather, if conditions are particularly dry and favorable for the spread of brush fires. A hydrology section sometimes when we're in a more flood potential situation. So there's a bunch of different things. And then this is our watch warning advisory section. It tells you of any headlines that are up. And right now, you can see we have small craft advisories and a gale watch for Friday through Saturday afternoon for parts of the waters. So
Yep.
again, this is what the forecasters are thinking. It's kind of a free format discussion. So some people write a lot, some people write less, but that's kind of where we can put our thoughts down and our confidence and maybe talk about the models and kind of different scenarios that may occur. So always
Yeah.
something good to check out. So
Oh, the hourly is a good thing to point out.
yeah, the hourly view. So this goes to our hourly weather graph, and there's a couple of ways to do that. First, you can just click on the map to get to your forecast, or you can select a location. So let's see our friends in Worcester tonight. Why don't we do that? So we'll click on Worcester, and that will take you right to the hourly weather graph. And this comes actually right out of the forecast database that we produce in our office. So it's an hour-by-hour breakdown of just about every forecast element. So what you're seeing here in the red curve is hourly temperature, and then the green is hourly dew point. You might see heat index or wind chill here if it's appropriate. The next section is wind, so you're seeing the wind speed, which is in miles per hour, and also the direction. So it's using the kind of the wind barbs. If you were at our Weather 101, you kind of saw how it's used on a weather map. So these are the direction where the wind is coming from. So you can see early on it's out of the southwest, and then the winds are going to shift to northwest tonight and eventually go to north and northeast during the day tomorrow. A few gusts to 20 miles per hour by this blue. And then you can see right through the period, it's going to be pretty much a lighter north wind. So the next section below that is sky cover is in blue. So you can see it's pretty much cloudy through the night tonight, and then we start to clear out tomorrow. The cloud cover decreases, and it's dropping, 27% there by 6 p.m. tomorrow. You've got relative humidity in the green, and then the chance of precipitation is in this brown. So you can see it's pretty low, not much higher than about 15% or so tonight, maybe touches 20% into tomorrow morning, and then drops pretty low. Whenever it gets to be 15% or higher, you might see some rainfall here. And that's just indicating some showers. And if we have a rainfall amount, you'll also see that here. It's usually in about 6-hour blocks. During the winter, you will also see snowfall. And then below that right now is thunder. So any thunder potential, and there is none. So this is kind of going to zero. But if you notice too, as I mouse over the graph at the bottom here of the chart, you'll see the time changes and all the different elements kind of in one shot. So we really recommend.
I didn't never even know that.
Yeah.
I learned something today.
So we really recommend, for your location, you can put in your zip code too, and it'll go to that, or just click on the map. It's a really good way
of customizable at the top
getting
there.
your local forecast.
You can add in lots of elements that you want.
And let me just show you getting from the main page. So let's go to Springfield. Again, you get the worded forecast, which is for that specific location. But look it's just for this local area in the green box. It's a very small area, so it's only about 1.5 miles by 1.5 miles in size. So you can move this around, or for wherever you like, or again enter your zip code up here in the top, and it'll take you there. But if you click on the map and get this and want the hourly weather graph, it's right down here. So you would just click on the hourly weather forecast, and there you go. And you can move forward a couple of days. The same information. We provide the rainfall forecast typically out 72 hours. And same with snowfall data. So if you want to get a sneak peek at maybe what we're thinking for an upcoming storm, you can get that specific information too. So if you want to look at any of the fire weather, if you have an interest in that, you can click on these. We have actually pilots who look at ceiling height and visibility. So you can click on that, click submit, and it will go ahead and add those at the bottom. So obviously there isn't much of a ceiling. Tonight the visibility is pretty good, but when we get into weather, you'll see these values changing quite a bit. So again, that's the hourly weather graph, and that's really, I think, one of our more popular forecasts to
Yes.
look at. So let me go back.
Oh,
Again,
one thing.
yep,
Can you go back to that the point and click
yep,
forecast page?
sure,
One thing that is interesting to note. So at the top, it's going to show you the observation, the closest observation
right.
that to where you clicked, and then if you go to the right, there's a 3-day history button, and you can see what the observations have been for the last 3 days at that location. So that's just kind of
And that's still some coding in there, but it's a little more decoded than the other one I showed earlier. So yeah, that's a good one, Bryce. All right. So we also have different things to look at. Hourly view, which is pretty much the same as we just showed, as a map view, um, which is more of just kind of graphics based on southern New England, and you can go through all different kind of different parameters here. Let me go through tonight. It doesn't like that. Oh, there's no data. What's going on?
well,
Interesting.
it says, remember, because this is about to be replaced with digital, or
Oh, correct.
soon, digital. So
Digitalweather.gov.
there's a link at the top of this page that says
Oop,
where you
go
can go
back.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah, see, this
let's
is the
go.
new version of this page, and you
Right.
can get all of our
So
graphical
that's right.
forecasts.
Digital.weather.gov will have all the different elements. And this map is nice. You can zoom right in.
Hmm.
Say you're interested again in maybe Hartford or down toward, let's pick New Haven. And then you can look at all the different forecast elements. If you're a boater, you can look at wave height. There's severe weather also. Some of the Storm Prediction Center graphics, which are zoomed up on southern New England, are tropical. Again, this is when we get into any kind of tropical threat. And then some of the water resources too. So this is digital.weather.gov. This is, that's right, Bryce. They are replacing it. So this is a much more user-friendly for graphics, and we will have to replace that link on our page
Yeah.
too. Aviation, if you're looking at any aviation weather, this will take you to the Center Weather Service Unit, which is a weather service office which is located at the Boston Air Route Traffic Control Center. It's loading some maps, which may be a little slow, but again, for pilots or if you're just interested, this is a look at the current weather. So you can see pretty good flight conditions over our area right now, a little bit worse as you get in upstate New York. But you can look at different things. There's planning aids and an electronic brief. There's all types of different things for, this is primarily for the FAA, but things you can look at too. Sea breeze forecast for Boston, snow and ice forecasts. So all different types of aviation weather are located within here, kind of centered on New England. So that's something you can always look at too. The marine page we'll look at, this is, again, centered on the southern New England waters, primarily Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and you can get some of the text-based forecast this way, or click on this certain area. The one thing I should mention, if we go back to the map, you can also click on the water and get a specific point forecast for that location. So say you're thinking of going fishing maybe south of Martha's Vineyard, you can click on that and it will come up with a specific point forecast. Again, it's showing you in that kind of that area the conditions, specific conditions there, wind and wave height and any weather. So you can also do that. Going down, we've got also a fire weather. The coastal flood page is a good one. And this is mostly when we get into the winter storm season, but if you live along the coast and an area maybe that's prone to coastal flooding, this page will give you all the information you need. It'll highlight any minor, moderate, or major flood potential. Also has links, as you can see, to different some of the tide gauges. You can see the forecast water level for those areas. And also you can look at inundation maps too. So if we zoom up, say, on Situate, which we know is one of our frequent flood areas, we can go ahead and raise the elevation. If we're expecting, say, a 15-foot storm surge, let's see, let's put the overlays on. Yeah, those are on. So you have to come onto here, click the coastal overlays, inundation extent. You can do depth too. We'll just leave it at extent for now. But you can see as we move out, so as I go from, say, 12 feet, you can see more, there we go. You can see some of the coastline. It'll actually start to disappear a little bit as you go higher and higher. So by the time you go up, you can kind of see areas that would be inundated. This is around, say, Situate Harbor. You can zoom in on your area. So when we provide a forecast, these are kind of reference maps that can be used to kind of show where the flooding is expected. And again, it will highlight different tide cycles in a color coded either yellow, orange, or red based upon the expected flood threat. So that's something you can look at there. Again, some other things are traditional text zone forecast. That's kind of a larger area forecast. Our winter weather page, the surf zone forecast. And if you're interested in sunrise, sunset, or times of the moon, you can click there. And this would give, for different months and different locations all around New England, actually. So for Boston, you can see the sunrise, sunset, total sunshine or daylight. You can see we're rapidly dropping now. We're getting below, pretty close to 12 hours at this point, almost at 12 by next week. And then also for the moon as well. So those are available right there. Rivers and lakes are for really the river forecast points, but also our coastal points. Let's see if we can get that to come up. Oh, internet's being a little slow tonight. That's okay.
You can do it. Website.
The website, I think, is having some issues. Well, anyway, take our word for it. You can look. Here we go.
There we go.
This is what's called the AHAPS, or Advanced Hydrologic Prediction Service. So this is nice. If you live along a river or even along the coast, you can get some pretty detailed information for rivers. So let's go to our friends in Rhode Island here. So if we pick the Patuxent at Cranston, you mouse over it and you get a hydrograph that comes up. There's no forecast there because we only provide a forecast when the flow is relatively high. So let's go take a look. I think westerly is one that you do. Yeah, you can see so if I click on it, it will actually take you to that hydrograph. And you can see the observed is in blue, the purple is the forecast, and these little bumps are just kind of the tidal influence around westerly. But it shows the different flood levels. Action stage is kind of when people can start making some preparations, but minor flooding is at 7 feet, moderate is at 9. You can scroll down and see the flood categories, see where the gauge is located. Historic crests are available, recent crests are available too. And then we also have the impacts. So if we're forecasting, say, the river to reach 8 feet, well, this is what would be the impact, approaching lowest lying homes in Westerly along Route 3, also in some homes in French Village and Hopkinton. So all different data available for the different gauge sites. And going back, it also applies to our coastal sites. So for example, at Scituate, you can see if I click on that, it will bring up the graph there as well and show you, the observed tides and the forecast tides. So you can see actually gets up by Sunday morning, the tides start getting a little bit higher, and I think with a little bit more surge coming in, it gets to almost 11 feet at Scituate. But same thing, we have the flood categories, historic crests, recent crests. You can see the highest was back from January 4th of 2018, the big bomb cyclone that impacted the area. And again, you have reference information as to what floods based on different water levels there. So good page to look at if you live along the rivers or if you live in a coastal area that you're concerned about flooding. So before we get to the climate, which I think, Bryce, will be our biggest area, briefly, there's also some local programs. We have a heat index calculator, wind chill calculator. You can learn about our co-op program, our Skywarn program. I think, Bryce, you'll be doing virtual sessions again in the spring.
Yes.
But you're certainly welcome to find out more about Skywarn. Storm Ready is a program for communities to be kind of weather ready. We have some papers and studies from past events. Haven't updated this in a while. That's something we're going to have to get to. We have a Prevailing Winds newsletter. It's an office newsletter that comes out twice per year, and just little different things about past weather or things about our office. NOAA Weather Radio, you can find out information. I'll click on that about our transmitters. It shows different transmitters for different areas, some of what we do on our broadcasts, and other information like that. So if you have a NOAA Weather Radio, you can get all kinds of information as to what station to tune in that's closest to you. Watch warning advisory criteria. If you're ever interested in what our criteria is for various watches, warnings, and advisories, we have tabs to kind of take you across. So for like winter, may say, when do we issue a blizzard warning? Well, if you've got sustained or frequent gusts greater than 35 miles an hour and considerable falling or blowing snow, that frequently reduces visibility to less than a quarter mile for more than 3 hours. That's your blizzard. So that's why we issue the blizzard warnings in those conditions. But you can go through everything else, from marine, headlines, to cold weather, to wind, to fog, smoke, or any kind of pollution. So that's all available under the local programs. Also, our probabilistic rainfall, which I can show in a minute. And of course, about our office, we had done a webinar on that, but there's more information about our office history located there. The probabilistic QPF, which is available here or also through this link, this is very similar to our winter weather snowfall maps, which you're probably more familiar with, but essentially it gives you 3 maps. One is the latest official forecast, which you can see here, showing some rain along the south coast and Cape and the islands. Then there's 2 different maps here, which give you kind of a range of possibilities of what could occur. So we have our high-end amount, and there's only a 1 in 10 chance of getting higher than this amount. So this was kind of your reasonable worst case, you can say. So, it probably won't verify at most places. There's only a 10% chance, but it could. So it kind of gives you a high-end expectation. So for the Cape and the Islands tonight, you could see a ½ inch of rain. Probably won't, but that would be, if it was, really going to rain hard, that would be your upper end amount. And you can see it's a lot less, more like a 1/10 of an inch as you head farther inland. And then the low end amount, this would be kind of the what we call maybe the best case scenario. If you're not getting, which of course we want rain, but there's a 90% chance of getting higher than this, and you can see in this case it's 0. So again, these expected amounts will fall in between these two. But a better way to look at it is on our table here. You can look at percent exceeding different amounts, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, for example, or scroll further down to our table. You can choose by county. We've got just about every town and city in here. So let's pick somewhere, and we'll go for Rhode Island again. How about Providence County? The table comes up and it shows you the low end, the expected, and the high end for each community, and then the probabilities of seeing more than certain thresholds. So this is identical to what we provide for the snowfall forecast. The probabilistic snowfall works the same way, and it's really used by the emergency management community and things like Department of Transportations and DPWs to kind of plan for upcoming events. So these are used by water resource officials, whereas the snow is probably more widely used, I think, Bryce.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
But again, it's the same methodology. We give you our best guess here, the expected, and then the range of possibilities. So in essence, when you have a greater range between the high end and the low end, the uncertainty is kind of high. There's kind of a lot that can go wrong. So for example, with snowfall, it could be the rain snow lines coming into play, or temperatures are kind of borderline, whereas in a maybe a January kind of blizzard where we know we're going to get hit pretty hard, these two numbers may not be too far apart. It only could be maybe 4 to 6 inch difference in snowfall. So that's something to keep in mind. If they're closer together, the uncertainty is low. If they're farther apart, the uncertainty is high. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, Bryce, you want to go on to the climate, since I think we're going to finish up with that before we get to questions.
Yeah, great. And I've actually, just took a peek at some of the questions and already have a couple of questions about how to find climate data. So this is great. So under this climate and past weather tab is where you're going to find all everything about past weather. So the most frequently used link here would be the top one, past observed weather. So let's click on that.
So you're going to spend, if you're looking for climate data, you're probably going to want to start there.
Yeah, that's
click on that.
The main page.
Right.
So there's a lot of different tabs here. Most of the time, or not most of the time, but a lot of the time, people, when I get questions from people on the phone looking for climate data, they end up finding it under the Now Data tab. That has a really nice interface to be able to find different types. So if you just click on that, just good point.
You'll start here because it's all there. But again, people want to know maybe Taunton or Willimantic,
Exactly.
Connecticut, and that's where the Now Data tab comes in handy.
And say you wanted to know, so okay, so one of the questions I actually saw was, how can I find a 90-degree day count, say for a month at a
Right.
certain location? So say we're using Boston just for an example, and it's already on daily data for a month under the product list, and we're going to choose August of 2020. So, and then we'll just click go on the right, and that'll bring up the complete list for the whole month of August. And you can actually see the warmest temperature of the month will be highlighted in red, and the coldest will be highlighted in blue. So you can just at a glance see we got up to 94 in Boston. That was our hottest 2 days, and we got down to 58 there at the very tail end. So you can count, you can count how many days got to a certain threshold. You can see the number of days we got rain and how much, and you can also see the running average. So looking at I believe the average temperature for August for this month was 74.1, it says, and it says that's compared to the normal average, which would be 72. So we were above average temperature-wise in Boston for this month. So lots of stuff you can glean from that. But then you can scroll down here, see lots of co-op sites, and that was one of our specific questions was how to find this at a co-op site. So this is where you would go to find that kind of data. So you can see all sorts of different locations. You can scroll through and find whichever one is closest to the location you're curious about, and we should have all that data there. You can also choose do another like daily almanac and see what it shows us. There's all sorts. You can play around for a long time on this page, but let's see what the daily almanac shows. So this is everything broken down by day. So you can get really specific about, what was the record high temperature that we've ever seen on this date. What was the record low high temperature? What was the record low? All sorts of stuff. Averages, records, year to date, precip, all that kind of thing is available in the almanac for a day option. The monthly summarized data, I use that a lot, I think. I'm trying to, the monthly summarized data is good. You can choose what variable you want. Say you want the sum of the precip, and you can even choose the year range. So, let's just see what it shows us when we show 2000 to 2020. So there you go. There's a ton of data there. You can see every month for the last 20 years at this spot how much rain they got.
And you can sort it too. If you click at the top of the column, so annual, what was the driest year? Well, 2015. What was the wettest year? 2018. So you can sort it that way too.
Yeah, so that's really nice. Not just by year.
And you have an option to print as well if you need to print a copy.
There's on not only precip, there's temperatures. You can get max. You can look at max temperatures, min temperatures. I believe there are under the variable. Can you click on the variable drop down menu on the right there and see what the under the snowfall? Okay, then can you click on the next one, the summary, and let me see what's under there. Yeah, you do have a number of days. Okay, so that's another another thing that might answer your question from that somebody was asking, how do you find a 90-degree day count for co-op station? So here you can look at the number of days and type in greater than or equal to 90 and be able to get the list for a certain, there you go. So that's a quick and easy way without having to save yourself time from having to go through and count out each day of the month.
Right. So for North Forester, Rhode Island, not many, 3.
Not many
so
days.
far. No. Although that only goes through July. The August data hasn't been processed yet.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Yeah, it can take it can sometimes take some time for these sites to get processed and show up on the website. So you might not get it right after. You probably won't get it right after it's happened. Let's see. All these tabs have good stuff.
If you want the current month, Bryce, you want to click on local data records, and it's preliminary F6 or preliminary climate data. So for the big sites, it's there for you can click on this. And again, it's a very similar map. So if I want to look, I want to see, so far this month in Fitchburg. Okay, let's see what we've got. And it's all listed right here. So this is for August. It can also work for the current. You can change it to the current month as well, but the same, temperatures, heating degree days, cooling degree days, precipitation, snow, and snow depth. So you can access that quickly too.
Perfect.
Similar to the Now data.
Yes, very similar. I think that it has a link to the CP the real one-stop shop for climate stuff is the Climate Prediction Center. Is under that Climate Prediction tab. I think it has, yeah, there's
Yep.
links to different outlooks from the CPC. So that's where that'll send you to, and they have all sorts of climate info.
Right.
Um,
And there's also resources. Again, more links. If you want to bury yourself in information, it's all
yeah,
there
yeah, you could
as well.
spend many hours going through all these and finding different
Yep.
useful stuff. So
Yeah, but like Bryce said,
we'll just
most
give
of the
you that for
local
you.
information you'll find under this Now data tab,
Yeah,
and it's pretty easy to use. And again, if you
yeah.
need help with anything, shoot me an email. I can walk you through it. It's not too bad.
Nope, not bad at all.
Okay, so
So I think that's
if we go back, yeah, and
main.
just on the same climate, you've got summaries, different summaries. Cocoa Rods, which is a volunteer rainfall network, similar to the co-op observers. It's reported once per day, so you can look up rainfall amounts there for specific locations. I'm sure many of you in our audience may be part of Cocoa Rods. You can look at past rainfall, snowfall records. This takes you to the national page. Drought information, again, the Climate Prediction Center, historical records too. You can look at the local storm reports, which are damage reports we received, say during thunderstorms or during windstorms or winter storms too. If you want to see a listing of our snow and rain reports, usually those are highlighted up in our news headlines, but just in case it's there. And this one, Bryce, we probably should show is the past weather events. We get a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
questions about this. Someone will call and say, I'm looking for information on a past storm. Well, the latest will default, but you can go to previous, and then you'll see a calendar come up. So let's go back. Let's go back to our friend January 2018, and you can see wherever there's information, you'll see it lit up in green. So let's go to January 4th, and you can do two ways. You can do a map, or look at the text data. This is a summary. And these are winds, so we can go and change that. You can see what kind of information is there. There's snowfall, wind speed, and peak gusts. So let's go to snowfall. And there's your snow map based upon the observations we received. And you're thinking, okay, how many observations did it include? We'll click on this text tab, and it should have updated. It didn't update. Oh, it's all together. That's why. It's at the bottom, or was. Oh, here it goes. Yeah, so you got your storm total snowfall here. So you can see Bradley Airport at 10 inches and so forth. These are all reports we receive from spotters, the public, our airports, and ham radio operators. So they're all listed there. But you can also go ahead and click a full-size image and save it. If you want to look at an expanded area, you click on that tab and it'll expand it out. And the only caution with this is we have to make sure, in a widespread storm, it's no problem. The other offices that are surrounding us, Portland, Albany, Burlington, New York, also have information that they've sent out, which in most cases they do. So you can look up pretty much any weather event through here. Again, you go, instead of latest, select previous, go to the calendar, select the month and the date, and that will take you there. So that's something we get questions about quite a bit also, searching past storms. So as long as we have issued a listing of the spotter reports, it will be archived in here. So I think with that, that's a pretty good tour through the website.
Yeah. I
Gonna...
wanted to show that one website, forecast points.
Oh, sure.
So
yeah, let's do that.
you can't get to it. There's not a link on our website, but if you want to jot this down, there's a really neat website that someone in the Weather Service has put together. You just type in weather.gov/forecast points, and then if you scroll down, you can click anywhere on the map that you want, and it lays out. So you can click somewhere in southern New England.
All right, we'll go at Hartford.
And it lays out a graphical look at all sorts of different products. You can look at the temperatures, precip, all of that stuff. So let it spin here and load, and so there we go. And it's color coded based on whatever the parameter is. So with the cloud cover, the more thick the clouds, you get the dark grays, whereas it's clear, then it's blue. Temperatures, the warmer the colors, the warmer the temperature is. So it's just a neat graphical way to look at the next 7 days, and then you keep going down. You've got it broken down hourly, and there's lots of ways to configure. You've got these graphs here. So just wanted to point this website out because a lot of people don't know about it. It's relatively new, and it's just a really great graphical graphical look at the forecast. So there you go.
weather.gov/forecast points.
Yep.
So, and again, anywhere in the country, you can
Anywhere in the
zoom in
country.
and get the weather.
Yep.
All
All
right.
right. So we got any questions?
So let me go open the questions. Let's see. Oh, where did my questions go?
I've got them up if you
Okay.
can't find them.
Oh, no, I've got it. Hang on.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. All right. So let's go through some of them. Let's see. Okay, we got the co-op
Yes, got
question
that one
there.
answered.
Where the storm report's located and posted after an event happens. Again, it's in that that climate and past weather, either on local storm reports or snow and rain reports. But more often than not, we also link them up on the news headlines for at least a day or two.
Yeah. And in the past weather events that you just showed, that if it's one of the bigger storms, it'll be in that.
Right. Let's see. Let's go on. Finding local storm reports that are more than a day old, you would go out to this local storm reports, and you can go back. And again, if you ever have trouble finding anything, you can also give our office a call too.
Mm-hmm.
If the number is 508-622-3250, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
3250, and you can go through and you can speak to one of us, or again, shoot me an email. Not a problem at all. Is it possible to listen to a NOAA weather radio channel through my computer? I don't believe so.
Not that I know of.
Currently, yeah, I'm not sure if I know there were some private companies doing that, but I think right now it is not possible, unfortunately, only through a radio. But if you do an internet search, you might be able to find one or two places that are still doing it, kind of in the MP4, I think, format. But yeah, I don't believe so. All right, let's see. Oh, my question box is messing up again. Bryce, you have any more after that?
Yeah, this one, after this one, how would one find dew points or rain totals for a particular past date? And so that would be under at least the rainfall totals would be under the climate past weather under the now data that I showed
Right.
earlier. I don't believe that we keep dew points recorded in climate data. Do we, Joe?
No, but that would be if you would go back to the 7-day observations, you could see it there.
Yes,
Yeah,
just
it's not recorded as part of climate data, unfortunately.
But yeah, you can get the rainfall totals.
Yeah.
Somebody said, is there a glossary that explains acronyms like SLP? Yes. I know if you just Google NWS glossary, it'll be the first link on the top of your search. It's really easy to find if you just type in NWS or National Weather Service glossary. And because I looked it up while Joe was talking, since I saw this question, and yeah, SLP is in there along with a million other things. So anything you might read in the forecast discussion, we try to limit our abbreviations nowadays. But if you do see an abbreviation you don't understand, it should be in the glossary.
Okay, I got the questions back, Bryce. So.
Okay, cool.
All right,
Cool.
so let's see. From Brian, what time is the forecast discussion typically updated? Well, it's updated at a minimum, believe it or not, every 3 hours. Centered, the main issuances you'll see are around 4 a.m., 4 p.m., but then we also do what are called the near-term updates, so the first 6 to 12 hours at 7 o'clock a.m. and p.m., 10 o'clock a.m. and p.m., and 1 o'clock a.m. and p.m. So at a minimum, it's those 3 hours, and if there's active weather, sometimes it's even more than that. So, but at a minimum, it's about every 3 hours. But the main update, especially to the longer-term portions of the forecast, are done twice a day, usually around 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. Let's see, from Fred, my friend Fred. I've used the Weather Service site for years, learned a lot tonight. Great.
Oh, good.
Actually, Bryce and I learned a lot too.
I know.
We can sympathize. There's a lot of information
Yeah.
on the web pages. Some of it is fairly hidden, and you have to dig down to it. So that's why we decided to kind of host this webinar tonight, just because there is so much information. So really, if you ever have any questions about, you can't find something, again, you can call our office and speak with one of our meteorologists. The area code is 508-622-3250, and there's a menu option to speak to a meteorologist. That'll ring right to the floor. Or you can email me through my email address. I can certainly, help you get to what you need. There's a lot of information in there as well. Okay,
That's it. And last question, I think.
that's the last
I
question.
don't
All
see any
right.
more.
Very good. Well, again, Bryce and I thank you for joining us tonight.
Yes.
And it was a little bit different, not a big PowerPoint presentation, but more just of a live demo. So go ahead and play around with the website. If you have suggestions too, if there's something you're looking for that you can't find on our website that you think we should have, I mean, send me the suggestion. We do have, a decent amount of local control as to what's on our webpage. Some of it is in that national format, but we can do local things as well. So if there's something you'd really like to see, we can certainly entertain, adding it or making information easier to find. That's really what we're here for. So again, thank you very much for joining us, and we will have this on YouTube, so you can go back if you want to look and
Yes.
see and hear the recording again.